All right, guys, welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new here. Thank you once again for joining me. I appreciate everybody showing up so early. It's always nice to see. It's always a very exciting thing to just see so many people, lined up, ready to hang out, ready to talk gaming. And who knows what else? Who knows what else we're going to be talking? I'm sure you might notice that there's something wrong with Boss behind me. I don't know what happened to him, man. I don't know what happened to Boss. He was just sleeping there. And then I left the room and I came back and he just looked like that. So I don't know. I guess he'll turn back when he feels like it. No, I'm kidding, of course. Boss is actually not. He's actually not in the room today. Yeah, he's glitching out. He's not in the room today, but my wife made that. So I told her no, it's not new merch. No, my wife made that and I told her I'd show it off on the stream. Boss rendered on Xbox. That's funny. Get him in the room. I actually don't know what he's doing. I think my wife just cleaned out his, he has like a little drinking fountain, him and Leia. I think that was just cleaned out, so he's probably excited about that. Let me see what I can do here. But yeah, appreciate you guys being here. Unfortunately, it's been a pretty quiet week for PlayStation. Not a whole lot going on, but we do still have a couple of things to discuss here today. And I see Jake Skew 27. Jake Skew, thank you, man. Jake decides to start off today gifting a membership. And so before I go through my topics, I guess I should just segue into this now, thanks to Jake. So really appreciate that, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, if you appreciate the streams, if you appreciate the channel and the content, there are a couple of ways you can support me. Simply being here watching, obviously, critically important. Thank you for just watching the content. If you want to let me know that you enjoy these streams, hit that like button. Okay, just take a second out of your time, hit that like button. If you want to go above and beyond, you have three options. Option number one, become a channel member. You gain access to exclusive members-only content, excuse me, that I put out pretty much every Saturday. You get access to members-exclusive emojis. And yeah, you can just help support my channel that way. If you are a channel member, even if you've been gifted memberships, you can then gift memberships yourself. It's a big thing we do here on the channel. Help support my content, help support me directly, and it allows me to continue to create this content and do these streams. Or you can consider donating a super chat. So if you have a question or if you want to make a statement, voice an opinion, whatever it might be, you get to do so while simultaneously supporting me. So a big shout out to this community. Thank you for your continued support. Seriously, if it wasn't for you guys, simply wouldn't be able to do this. Some of the topics we are going to be discussing today, though. We're going to be talking about The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. I feel like this past week has been focused a lot on Naughty Dog, and it's kind of understandable why it is that way. I mean, they're really the only PlayStation studio, other than Insomniac with Spider-Man 2, of course, that's kind of been, in the spotlight to a degree. Not as much as we would like. There's clearly more we would like to know, but we're going to be talking about The Last of Us Part 2. There's a lot of opinions already with a game like The Last of Us 2, but it's especially interesting when you consider that they're going to be bringing out a remastered version of this game potentially next year, or maybe even in 2025. It's hard to say. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit more about Naughty Dog. We do have a smaller update on the Last of Us factions, which I did cover in my last video, but, we'll probably end up talking about it again here today. We actually have an interesting update regarding Silent Hill 2 Remake. Seems like Konami might be gearing up to finally talk about this game once again, which is definitely good news. I think a lot of people are eagerly anticipating this game and getting new information. We're going to be talking about Spider-Man 2. I came across this interesting article that I figured we could read together. It's called Spider-Man 2, 12 More Things You May Not Know. Figured we could kind of just go over this and talk about some things that we might not know now that we're, we're less than 2 weeks away from this game launching officially. And then we're going to talk about Santa Monica Studio and how they are apparently working on a half sequel to God of War Ragnarok, which we did talk about previously, but it's making the rounds once again. And if we have time over the course of this stream, I want to talk about this really random article that came out today where it says Chat GPT was used to write Golem, the Golem game. This just randomly came out, and I think it would just make for an interesting conversation. And then finally, again, if we have time, might talk a little bit about Lords of the Fallen. I'm actually looking forward to this game. So yeah, I see PS3 Gaming Scotland is saying, is there another showcase right now? No. It seems like the next time we're going to hear from Sony when it comes to any type of PlayStation announcements, it's likely going to happen at the Game Awards in December. I mean, Spider-Man 2 is, again, less than 2 weeks away, so Sony's obviously going to be focused on that. I don't really imagine them deviating from Spider-Man 2. And then you think about November, I don't think Sony's going to do anything in November either, because that's going to be, the holiday shopping month. Spider-Man 2 is going to be out by that point, and a lot of third-party games. And then that'll bring us into December. So, could we get like another State of Play? Yeah, I think it's a possibility. I do. I think a State of Play is a possibility. I don't think it's likely. But when it comes to, something like a full-blown showcase, no. At this point, I don't think there's any chance that Sony does another showcase this year. Yuri P is saying, MBG, did you hear Jeff Grubb say he heard that gameplay wasn't the problem with factions, it was the live service part? That's, I didn't hear that, no, but that's definitely interesting to hear from Jeff Grubb. I mean, he's a pretty good source for this type of stuff. Not surprising at all. Not surprising. I mean, we've been talking about this a lot. I do not believe for a second that Naughty Dog made a bad video game. I don't. I don't think that when it comes to gameplay, when it comes to mechanics, I mean, you think about The Last of Us Part 2, yeah, there's no chance this game was bad, right? There's no chance that the gameplay didn't feel good. It's more than obvious, I think, by this point in time that The Last of Us multiplayer game is on ice and is seemingly canceled for now anyway, because Naughty Dog just wasn't in a position to be able to turn this into a 10-year live service endeavor. And maybe that's for the best. I've really been thinking about it. I've been thinking about Naughty Dog as a studio, what it is that they are known for, what it is they do, their talent. It sucks, straight up. Like, it absolutely sucks that they've proven they can make a good multiplayer experience. They did it with Uncharted 4. I think the previous Uncharted games as well. They did it with The Last of Us. And they could have done it again. But because Sony is so focused on having successful live service games, it just seems like, Naughty Dog wasn't really cut out for that. And the reason why I'm saying maybe this is for the best is because they're moving on now to what it is they do best, and that is they're going to make single-player games. Now, this will actually help segue us right into the first topic, which is The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. The Last of Us Part 2 is still one of the most visually impressive games ever released, and yet, oddly, despite releasing only months before the launch of the PS5, the game has never been properly updated for Sony's latest console, or ported to PC for that matter. No, The Last of Us Part 2 remains stranded on the creaky old PS4 hardware to this day. I don't know why they're calling it creaky old. I guess it is pretty old. Well, thankfully, that may be about to change, according to the LinkedIn page of Naughty Dog's lead outsource artist, Mark P is what I'll call him. He's been overseeing the production of new assets for The Last of Us 1, Part 1, and The Last of Us 2 Remastered. He doesn't format the title right, but ultimately, We think the message is pretty clear here. The Last of Us Part 2 was a rather divisive game, as we know, and they're getting ready with the HBO series to cover the events of The Last of Us Part 2. And so this is something that's been rumored for a long time now. Naughty Dog remastering The Last of Us Part 2, like a director's cut. And this is the first time we're getting explicit confirmation from a developer at Naughty Dog through a LinkedIn profile that they are working on this. Now, what is really kind of depressing about this, okay, I know that there are people who have excitement for something like The Last of Us Part 2 remastered, and I get it. I'm not trying to burst anybody's bubble. I'm not going to be one of these people that says, you're not allowed to be excited for this or enjoy this or look forward to it. Not at all. Look forward to what you want to look forward to. Enjoy what you want to enjoy. But my opinion of this is it's kind of sad because it seems like this Last of Us Part 2 remaster is something that we're going to be getting relatively soon, probably sometime next year, if I had to guess. I think it's unlikely that we'll get it in 2025. And what this would ultimately mean is that Naughty Dog's output for this entire generation would have been one remake and one remaster for games, two games that are part of the same series. We would get a remake of The Last of Us Part 1 and a remaster of The Last of Us Part 2. And we would have also gotten the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection, which is just another remaster. And that is, that is unbelievably disappointing considering just how far into this generation we would have been. I mean, you're talking being about at the halfway point, 4 years into the generation. I don't mind remasters or remakes that much, but it does kind of become a little bit problematic, in my opinion, when that seems to largely be the focus of a studio. It's not a good look, frankly. It's not. When you look at Naughty Dog during the PlayStation 4 life cycle, in 2016, they had Uncharted 4 ready to go. And that was after coming off of The Last of Us 1 in, I believe, 2013. So they had The Last of Us in 2013, and then 2016, they had Uncharted 4. And ever since then, we got The Last of Us Part 2 in 2020, and now there's just no ETA whatsoever on a new game from them. And so I'm not trying to necessarily tell people you shouldn't look forward to this. I understand. I do. I understand why some people are going to be excited to play this game on the PS5. But just in terms of Naughty Dog's output, I just don't know what's going on with this studio anymore. And it is depressing. It is. It's sad to see. Seems like there's some serious mismanagement happening and very, very little communication. And we have Jake Skew27 following up his membership gift with another membership gift. Dude, thank you so much, Jake. Let's get some W's in the chat for Jake. He brings us to 2 members. Let me actually update this here. I forgot to do that. So really appreciate that support, bud. And shout out to everybody who continues to support the channel, really. And you do have to wonder, here's the big question. There's no question as to whether or not Naughty Dog is making a new game. They are. Naughty Dog has confirmed that they're working on a new single-player game, but they confirmed that a couple of months ago, right? So the question I now have is, how long has this game been in development? Right? How long has this new game from Naughty Dog been in development? Did they just start development? Was it in early pre-production and now it's finally in full production? I'm telling you now, I am bracing myself for the reality that the only other thing we're going to get from Naughty Dog between now and potentially the end of the generation is The Last of Us Part 2. And this new game that they're working on, whether it's a new IP or The Last of Us Part 3, I'm not expecting this game to release until 2026 or 2027, because there's no denying that Naughty Dog has been putting a lot of time into their multiplayer game, right? They've been putting a lot of time into their multiplayer experience, and it all resulted in nothing. It resulted in just wasted time, wasted effort, and wasted resources. And now they've had to pivot and refocus. And I want to make it clear, because I think when people hear something like this, they are taking it as, oh man, Naughty Dog's done. You know, they're cooked, it's over. No, that's just not the case. Is it disappointing what's happening? Yeah, it is. And obviously it's not ideal. But I think that there's a lot of good with this, believe it or not. It's just potentially a lot of good we won't see for some time. For as depressing as it may be to look at what's happening with The Last of Us multiplayer and the reality of this situation, it's also, I think, very encouraging to a lot of players that, well, at least they're not spending any more time on this multiplayer game. Now they're just going to make their single player game. That's kind of what we wanted, right? That's kind of what we've been waiting for from Naughty Dog. NBG, just remember, these same problems with factions happened with Uncharted 4. Naughty Dog have retooled / reworked the game before. Yeah, no doubt about it, man. I mean, the thing about this Last of Us multiplayer game, and the reason why I don't think anything's going to come of it, potentially ever, but certainly not anytime soon, is I feel like what we basically just witnessed is, okay, we spent a couple of years trying this, and it didn't work the way we thought it was going to work. It's not a situation where we can reboot it or redo it. It's not going to work. We just don't have the necessary template. We don't have, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I really wasn't sure how Naughty Dog was going to manage to support this game as a live service for like 10 years or more and still make these massive single player games that take them years to make. You know, I don't know how they were planning on doing that. Maybe the reality just kicked in where it's like, well, we don't really have enough end game content here to justify calling it a live service. And we don't really have a proper roadmap. We were just kind of really focused on the package we're delivering up front. And maybe that's where Sony just said, look, we really wanted a live service from you. And it's clear you got, Bungie told us you guys just are having a struggle with this and the template's not there. It just seems to me like they basically said, we got to cut our losses and we got to just move on to the next thing and put all of our focus on that. To me, that's the vibe I get. Oh, boss did join me here. That's the vibe I get from everything we've been hearing. And so it is true that Naughty Dog has run into development issues before. This is not the first time, and they've proven they can turn it around. Absolutely. I don't think this is a situation like that. I don't think this is a situation where it's like, we got to get this thing corrected and we got to turn it around and improve it. I just think it's a matter of, this is over. We tried. It didn't work. Now we got to go make a single player game. And that's the thing. I wasn't a big fan. I was not a big fan of The Last of Us Part 2 story. I appreciated a lot of things it did. I think it is an incredible game in many regards, but the story just didn't really do it for me. But at the same time, like, I have no doubt in my mind that Naughty Dog is going to knock it out of the park with their next single player game. I have no doubt about it. Boss decided to join me. As soon as Boss jumped up, Corey is like, here you go, MBG. Here's 5 memberships, bro. Dude, Corey Landiga, thank you so much, man. The legend is doing it. Corey, these past 2 streams, he's been doing a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to the membership gifting. So Corey, thank you so much for that, buddy. He gifts 5 memberships, bring us up to 7
Thank you.
On the day. Let's get some W's in the chat for the legend Landiga as he continues to gift out these memberships. Let me add that to the counter. You know what? Actually, I should probably... Boss, I'll move Boss Jr. here. Okay? I'll move Boss Jr. It looks so ridiculous. I'll move Boss Jr. so Boss can go sleep there if he wants to do that at any point. And we also have another legend. Dude, Hellbound 1981. Hellbound 1981 follows up Corey Landiga with another 5 memberships gifted, bringing us up to 12 members on the day. Big shout out to Hellbound 1981. We have 2 legends here that just, again, thank you guys so much. Got to give a big shout out to all of you guys who continually come to each stream and consistently gift memberships. I really do genuinely appreciate it. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So let me add that to the counter, and I have a couple of chats here to read before I continue on here.
No matter what, you
Throwing a Joel soundbite. We're talking about The Last of Us. Let me see. I have Oliver, member for 5 months. He says, you mentioned that you regret not buying the God of War Ragnarok Collector's Edition. My European retailer still has stock. Are you interested? Nutrition, ghost stories, etc. LS is when. Yeah, dude. We kind of, you never know which direction we're gonna go in any given stream. You know, maybe there'll be some ghost stories. Maybe we'll talk about the astral plane. Talk about nutrition. Talk about Arnold, right? No, you know what, man? I appreciate you pointing that out. I don't think I'm interested at this moment in time. I kind of just accepted that if I really wanted that collector's edition, I would have gotten it. I think it's just one of those things where, you know, because it was Thor's hammer that came with it, I wasn't as pumped for the character Thor in God of War Ragnarok. Like, I was pumped to see Kratos battle him, of course, but when I saw it was, like, I was kind of hoping it was going to be something related to Kratos. I randomly, this was a while ago, I came across the collector's edition for God of War 2018. And in my opinion, that collector's edition was way better. And obviously I missed that one. But it was like a statue of Kratos and Atreus. And I thought, wow, that's awesome. And I was kind of hopeful that they would do something similar to that with Ragnarok. But instead they decided to go for, you know, for the hammer. Sorry. Have a important message here. I apologize. What the hell? Okay. Yeah, but the Thor hammer, I thought it was cool, and I guess it kind of made sense for them to focus on that with this collector's edition and not be too redundant. But yeah, I put my cat in the washing machine by accident. Boss, what are you doing, man? What's up? Boss is just chilling here with me. We have Dragon Bat Spidey with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much for that, buddy. You're saying, do you think the only way Naughty Dog can make another Uncharted is if they make a remake of the first 3 games, similar to The Last of Us Part 1? No, I think Naughty Dog has made it crystal clear by this point that they are done with Uncharted. They're not going to be returning to Uncharted. It's just not a thing that's going to happen. I think it's a good thing. I do, because Uncharted is coming back. It's been almost, I don't want to say officially, but nearly confirmed through job listings that an Uncharted game is in the works. But it's not going to be with Naughty Dog. It's going to be with another studio. Could be Blue Point Games. Just some food for thought there. Blue Point Games, they said that they're working on new content. Not new IP, new content for something else already established. That very well could be Uncharted. And it's interesting because, I mean, I see Nick in the chat saying he's tired of Uncharted. I do think that people are feeling a little bit fatigued with Uncharted, but there's also still a lot of excitement for it, interestingly enough, at least from what I can tell. Like, it's kind of split. there are a lot of people who would like to see Uncharted return and would absolutely support it, but there are also quite a few people who are like, I'd rather not. I'd rather see something new. And I totally understand that. But I've always argued that the Uncharted franchise IP, it's just too big. It's too successful for Sony to just put it away. And, it's becoming more important than ever before because of how volatile and unstable the industry is right now. If you have big IP that's guaranteed to succeed, you hold that close and you use that. And I get it. I do. I don't know that I would be thrilled for a new Uncharted. Like, I can safely say that I'm not the person that would be jumping out of my seat being like, yes, more Uncharted. But I'm in the middle. I'm at a point where if Sony says we want to make a new Uncharted, we're giving it to a new team, and we'll let them do something different with it, because they're going to have to go in a different direction. It's not, I don't imagine it's going to be Nathan Drake again or any of the characters. I mean, maybe we could see, I don't know, like Drake's brother and Sully maybe, but I'm in the middle where I would be like, okay, let's see what you guys can do. I'm willing to get excited for this if it seems like there's a lot being put into it and you're going to try to do something a little bit different with it. I would definitely be interested in that. But, the Uncharted series is not one that I've ever felt too strongly about. I've been mostly indifferent to it. Like, yeah, it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. But I also am not like in love with it either. So the idea that Sony would say, we want to capitalize on this and keep this IP alive and going, it's like, yeah, I get it. I understand. But I can tell you that Naughty Dog is not the one making Uncharted. At this point, Naughty Dog is either working on a brand new game or The Last of Us Part 3. And the rumors are claiming that right now they're working on a new game and that The Last of Us Part 3 will come after that. That would be ideal. I would be totally open to that. If Naughty Dog says, you know what, we've done enough Last of Us, let's focus on a new IP. And then when we're done that, we'll come back to The Last of Us, finish it out with a third game. And then after that, create a sequel to the new IP. That sounds pretty good because I think everybody would be happy. I would love to see a new IP from Naughty Dog. I've been talking to you guys extensively about this multiplayer game. And, after sitting on it for a little while, I've just accepted, well, I have no choice but to accept that this multiplayer game isn't happening. It's not anytime soon. And so the next thing I can do is look forward to their new game. And that's why I'm not excited about The Last of Us Part 2 remastered, because I'm not interested. I have no interest in it. I just feel like I'm ready for something new from Naughty Dog. And if I'm being told you're going to have to wait, that's fine. I'll wait. I'd rather wait and be patient and let them create something new, something good, something of quality, than rush something out or, put out a game that's going to fail. I mean, for as excited as I was about this multiplayer game, man, from Naughty Dog, it would have been pretty depressing to see them just come out and fall flat on their face. And it's like, it just fails and they have to shut it down. That would have been depressing. I do think that would have been depressing to watch, but let me see here. We got Subtext with a $5 super chat. Very much appreciate that, man. You're saying, I admit that when they said factions would have stories to follow in an online game, I was nervous they were biting off more than they could chew. Yeah, that's an interesting point to bring up. Neil Druckmann confirmed with this Last of Us multiplayer game that there would be new characters, new stories that that would be told. And considering it's Naughty Dog, I almost wonder if you almost have to wonder if they started making a single player game basically that just had co-op. And because of that, they kind of ran into problems with like the monetization where it's like, oops, we basically made like a massive story expansion to the Last of Us universe. We got these characters, we got these cutscenes, we got these, levels and environments, and you can play it co-op. And then maybe they just kind of ran into a problem where like we don't really know how to monetize this. Ghetto God says, stop lying. You want the roadmap. You want them to communicate and announce 8 games 8 years ahead of time like Xbox, and then have them rush it because of impatient fans and release a buggy mess. Well, I think that's pretty aggressive, Ghetto God. I mean, look, do I want a roadmap? Yeah. Do I want Sony to communicate more? Yeah. But I've calmed down a lot. I have. Maybe you've noticed, where it's just like, I don't want to be the person constantly whining and saying, come on, Sony, what are you doing for me today? Like, do this and do that. Of course, I'm going to get like that at times, but, I've just accepted where we are right now with PlayStation because it's really not bad. I mean, I titled this stream, This Is What's Next, and, there are 3 games listed here, 2 of which I'm very excited for, and the other, I think some people are excited for. Spider-Man 2 is coming out. And this is what Sony is like. This is what I asked for. It is. And that's why I'm just taking a moment here to take a step back and say, okay, I've been asking for a roadmap. I've been asking for more in terms of what's coming. Now, I know, Ghetto God. I know it's all in good fun. But this is what I asked for. I said, Sony, I want you to focus on your big AAA games, and I want them to be big, exciting releases, and I'm okay waiting for that as long as the quality's there. And I've look, Spider-Man 2 is a game I am thoroughly excited for, but it's not like the game for me. And I think a lot of people feel that way. To me, Spider-Man 2 feels more like more of what I want, but not exactly what I want, if that makes sense. Where I've always liked Spider-Man as a character. Honestly, I thought Insomniac did a great job. I think Insomniac did a fantastic job with Spider-Man 2018, and they actually, Insomniac in a big way made me a much bigger fan of Spider-Man than I previously was. And that's an important thing to note here. This is why I'm so excited for Spider-Man 2, because even though he's never been my favorite character, my favorite superhero, that's actually Wolverine in this case, which again, shout out to Insomniac making a Wolverine game. I still, like, it almost feels like it's not real because we only got that one CG trailer in 2021 and we like haven't seen or heard anything of it since. It almost feels like it's not real, but I know it is. But Insomniac did a great job making me a much bigger fan of Spider-Man than I ever was previously. And frankly, Spider-Man 2 looks significantly more exciting to me than Spider-Man 2018 did. And that's saying something because Spider-Man 2018 looked really good. Seeing what they're doing with Venom, seeing how they're bringing in the symbiote suit, and they have a whole a new dynamic at play now where you can switch between Miles and Peter. And yeah, it's exactly what I want from Sony, where they're doing what they do best, which is continue to produce these single player games. I'm not going to rush Sony making new IP. Not going to do that, because that is a dumb thing, in my opinion, for anybody to do. I'm not going to speak for us. I'm just going to speak for me. I'm just thankful that Sony is pursuing new intellectual property. Okay? It is very risky right now for any publisher to pursue AAA new IP. And Sony's still doing that with at least 3 of their teams. And that's significant. And there's no guarantee that these games are going to succeed. But I think if Sony puts, if they put the right stuff, the right ingredients into these games, I think they could succeed. And I'm not talking about live service, by the way. I'm talking about single player games. There are multiple new single player IP in development at Sony. And I'm not going to like I'm just kind of over freaking out, I guess, or being whiny about like, come on, man, announce these games, show these games. I'm at a point now where it's like, you're releasing Spider-Man 2. It's literally what I asked for. Like I asked for this, and I am excited for it. So why would I spend my time right now complaining? There's no reason to. We're eating good right now. So I shouldn't. It's almost like, it's being worried about the next meal that's being cooked before you're even eating the first meal that's about to come to you. It doesn't really make any sense. But I will say, I think it kind of comes with the territory. It's kind of expected a little bit. And what I mean by that is Sony has kind of conditioned us in a way as as PlayStation fans to always kind of get excited for those new games and for that roadmap. And I think this is really the first time in a long time that Sony hasn't had a really clear roadmap. Even at the start of the generation with the PS5, Sony made a very clear roadmap for at least 2 years, 2.5 years. And they just haven't done that right now. And, I think it makes it easy for a lot of people to assume the worst. Boycott activity, you're saying the problem is the meals aren't filling, they just taste good. That's an interesting way to put it. I can understand that. I do understand that frustration a little bit, where it's like, from the player perspective, Spider-Man 2, some people are going to be done with this game in a week, or even less than that if you play it like crazy, right? And I understand that argument. And I think this is why some people are looking forward to Sony's multiplayer live service games, because they want to feel like there's something they can keep coming back to. But, I would say that, I guess in this case, I would say that I don't think that's a good enough reason to kind of call Sony out, if that makes sense, because it's like, I don't know what else people really expect at this moment in time, right? Like Sony says, here's a new single player game. It's been in development for 5 years. You probably spend anywhere between 30 and 40 hours with it if you want to experience everything there is to experience. I mean, isn't that kind of to be expected though? You know what I mean? Like I guess there's probably going to be DLC, right? That's probably worth pointing out. So I'm just at a point where I'm tired of making it seem like Sony owes me something. They don't owe me. They don't owe anybody anything. They're doing what they're doing. And at this point, all I can say is I still have faith that Sony will deliver. I do. Because there's really nothing in front of me right now to tell me otherwise. I mean, Naughty Dog, a little concerning. But if you were to ask me, hey, MBG, with all this bad news that's been coming out about Naughty Dog, you think they're gonna produce a bad game with their next title? No, I don't. They could produce a game where the story and the characters maybe don't interest me as much as I would have hoped. Sure. But do I think they're going to produce a bad video game? No, not a chance. And that's what's weird to me is, I see some people kind of, they look, when you talk about The Last of Us Part 2, right? It's like, is it a bad video game? I don't think it is. I don't like that game. As in, I didn't like the story. I didn't enjoy my playthrough of it. But being objective about it, is it a bad video game? Does it have bad gameplay? No. Does it have bad graphics? No. Is it bad on a technical level? No. How's the voice acting? It's incredible. How's the mocap? Incredible. How's the level of detail? Incredible. How are the environments? Incredible. So really, it's one of these things where I come to the conclusion that Naughty Dog still does what they do best. They make these pristine, high-quality, masterful video games. Single-player games. And for me, The Last of Us Part 2 story-wise was a miss. And I've seen a lot of people, they've taken the stance with The Last of Us Part 2 where they're like, I'll never play another Naughty Dog game again. I'll never support them. And I understand that. I do. But I don't agree with that, personally. I don't feel that way. I'm going to be open-minded about what they do next. Because that's me being realistic. Because I have no idea what they're going to do next. If they are, in fact, making a brand new IP, and they reveal this game for the first time, who knows what they'll do? The sky's the limit. There's a 95% chance I'm going to be very excited about whatever that is. There's also that 5% chance that it's like, okay, well, Neil Druckmann's directing this game, and I am not interested based off of what they're showing me. And that's fine. No, I'm just going to move on and be excited about something else. But I can't deny the level of skill and expertise that Naughty Dog has at their studio. There's no denying that. And that's where I would, ideally for me, Naughty Dog comes out maybe next year. They give us the first trailer for their new single-player IP, and it just sounds and looks incredible. It's like, all right, let's go. But, you know, there's always that 5% chance, of course. You're saying I have rose-tinted glasses. Well, you know, look, here's another thing. For me, and I'm not going to dive deep into it because I've talked about it too much here on the channel, but I'll just say this to help maybe make you guys understand where I'm coming from a little bit better. For me, Naughty Dog already bottomed out. Okay? The story of The Last of Us Part 2, for me personally, is as low as it goes. And it can only go up from here. Or just stay the same. And I know that might offend some people. I'm not trying to offend anybody. It's just, I'm only speaking for me. I was so utterly disappointed in the direction they went in with the story of The Last of Us Part 2 that I honestly just felt like, okay, I'm just going to basically pretend like this didn't happen. And the first Last of Us, that ending, that's where the series ended for me. And if they do a third one, okay, let's see what you do. But that's why I'm saying it's like I was so frustrated and so upset with Naughty Dog with The Last of Us Part 2 that I was just like, I don't think I could honestly say I'll never play another game from you because that would mean it would have to be worse than this. And that would be, I don't even know how that could be a possibility. MBG, you weren't giving Xbox this much support during the Xbox One era. You're correct, Lone Wolf Gamer, but Xbox also wasn't delivering games like Spider-Man 2 to me during that era. That's why. Believe me, if Xbox didn't have a roadmap during that time, well, they didn't, but if Xbox was doing everything they were doing in 2017 and 18, but that year they said, but we do have Spider-Man 2 coming, or a game like that, I'd be like, well, I'm very concerned about your future, but damn, I'm about to eat good. Or a game like Helldivers 2 and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, right? Like all three of these games coming within a 6-month period. If Xbox was delivering stuff like that during the second half of the Xbox One era, I probably would have stuck with Xbox. Yeah, but they didn't have that in there. So, you know. Tijual says, so you wanted another Joel and Ellie adventure. Simply put, yeah. And I wish people didn't get so defensive about it, where it's like, oh, you're baby. It's just because they killed Joel. Like, no, man, it's just I genuinely thought that we were going to get another, adventure. I hate to use the word adventure because it makes it sound like so, oh man, but I expected it to be very dark. No doubt about it. I did expect The Last of Us Part 2 to be very dark, but I expected the story to center more around, I guess it did explore Joel and Ellie's relationship quite a bit, but I just wasn't expecting just this third party to come into the game and basically steal the spotlight for more than half of that game and basically leave me with this feeling of like, I don't even know how I feel about the original characters anymore because shit just got so crazy. I'm just like, well, I'm not a fan. That's all. I don't want to like bitch and moan about The Last of Us Part 2 because that's just not really what I'm, that's not what I'm trying to focus on today. But, I would be open to seeing what Naughty Dog would do with The Last of Us Part 3 just because it's like, where they left Ellie at the end of that. I mean, if you go watch the ending of The Last of Us Part 2, I mean, it could go almost in any direction in a way, where the book is closed to an extent. Like the chapter is finished, the book has come to an end. What next? I mean, they could take it in a direction where The Last of Us Part 3 is old Ellie. And who knows, maybe she'll take the role of Joel, like in the third game. I don't know. MBG is still in denial that Joel died. MBG, the game is great. I love Joel and still love the game on my first playthrough. No. I am not at all in denial that Joel died. To be clear, just to clear things up, I always anticipated that Joel was going to die in the sequel. If you go back and you listen to those videos I was making, talking about my speculations on the story when we were getting story trailers, I fully expected Joel to die. I did not at all expect. I was even okay with the way he died. I mean, I thought it was a little bit too abrupt, but it's like, people were saying, well, that's the world of The Last of Us, man. Anything can happen at any moment. I'm like, yeah, that's true. My problem, again, I don't want to. You guys are pulling me in here. So every time I think I'm out, you guys pull me back in. I pull myself back in. So spoiler warning. My apologies. I guess I just assumed that everybody here played The Last of Us Part 2. It's going to be a major spoiler warning here. I mean, we kind of already did spoil the fact that Joel dies, but I don't know how you wouldn't know about that, frankly. But spoilers. So my problem isn't that Joel died. My problem isn't even the way that he died. My problem is that Naughty Dog really wanted me to see the perspective of the character that killed him. And basically, I'm going to spend what felt like 2/3 of this game playing as this character, learning about a whole new group of survivors that I do not care about, and tried really hard to make me come to this conclusion, which I get it. I understand. See, no one's innocent. This is a brutal world, and that's life. There is no right. There is no wrong. There is no justification. It's just these are people doing what they're going to do. Seeking revenge and being driven by hate. And it's like, sure is. I feel horrible. Fun is not a word we use when we make the Last of Us Part 2. Like, I remember reading that from Neil Druckmann. He's like, fun is not a word we use. And I'm like, okay. But after experiencing the game, it's like, yep, fun is not a word used during the development of this game. And this is why I'm not even really looking forward to The Last of Us Season 2 on HBO, because I just do not like Abby's character. I don't. I don't like what she represents. I don't like the fact that she's such a flat character. And I'm not trying to, again, offend anybody who does like her as a character. There's clearly many people who do like Abby and really thought that Naughty Dog did a good job. I just disagree. And I think we can just agree to disagree. And you know, for me, I really do think that The Last of Us Part 3, if we do get a Part 3, The Last of Us Part 3 for me, my interest will essentially be determined by whether or not Abby is involved with the game. Like if it's like, oh, she's going to be a vital character in The Last of Us Part 3, respectfully, I'm out. I'm good. You know, I really didn't, I have no interest in seeing or learning more about that character. If it's focused on Ellie and Abby is seemingly not a part of it, I'd be very interested to know what happens to Ellie as a character. Especially after everything that happened. And in fact, I would be more interested in part 3 at that point significantly, because it's like the way that they left Ellie's character to me is much more interesting than the way that they left Abby's character. I feel like Abby's character, she got humbled in her own way, right? Where it's like you got your revenge and you're out here blazing your own trail, and then you get stopped abruptly. And, you know, the person who, of all the people in the world that should have killed you, didn't and let you go. And now she's off. You know, it just really seems like the person who really lost in the end was Ellie, truthfully. Like, she really lost more than anybody. And that's why I would be very interested to see where her story goes next, because you're talking about a completely broken character who lost everything they ever cared about. I mean, the door is wide open on where her character could go or end up. So, yeah. You're saying Joel was one of the most cunning people. I'm just supposed to believe he's so easily trapped. That was the problem. I mean, at first I kind of thought that, but the more I pondered it, I was like, well, I feel like that shit does happen. Like the way in which he died, it was like really like shocking. Like, holy shit, I did not see that coming. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that is kind of real life to a degree, where people just sometimes get really fucking unlucky. And to me, that instance was just Joel getting really, really unlucky, where it's like, you know, I committed mass murder in the name of love and I got away with it, seemingly. And I've been living my life, you know, as a chill dad, basically, in this outpost for certain amount of years. It's kind of like, you know, it is kind of reasonable that he would maybe become a little bit more relaxed and just kind of start to change a little bit, where it's like you live a life on the inside safe for so many years where you're not trying to fight for survival every day. You're getting older. You know, I think that the one part I really did enjoy in The Last of Us Part 2 is when you were playing as Ellie and you were exploring Joel's house, and it kind of showed you like this is what his life was like at you know, at the campground or in the town. And it was pretty insightful, where it's like it seemed like Joel just became a very, you know, chill fatherly figure that's out here doing like wooden carvings and stuff and playing guitar and enjoying his coffee. And it's like maybe he truly did just soften up. And I guess it kind of is interesting when you think about it, because I went into The Last of Us Part 2 thinking that something was going to happen to Ellie and Joel was going to have to like rescue her, or, you know, go basically the scene in The Last of Us 1 when Joel does have to go rescue Ellie. I mean, she ends up saving herself, of course, but just his aggressive like pursuit of like, you know, everybody's going to die. If you get anybody who gets in my way, you're going to die, you know? I kind of anticipated, and to be fair, Naughty Dog did kind of set that story up. If you guys remember that trailer where, Ellie got grabbed from behind and they turn the camera and it's Joel and he says, "You didn't think I was going to let you do this on your own, did you?" And they even had him record that line for that trailer. So yeah, they really bamboozled me when they were like, "Nah, he's dead, man." Like, I even started thinking like maybe he is already dead and Ellie's like seeing him, almost like that, that type of situation where it's like she's hallucinating him, or we're like not sure, like, is he really there or not? And they didn't do that either. It's just like, yep, he's dead. Like, oh, okay. Anyway, I got a couple chats. I'm sorry for keeping you guys waiting here. IP Gaming, you're saying, with the industry being volatile, do you think Apple could have a major impact on the gaming industry? Say a console, a handheld. What could they offer? I think Apple is such a big brand that they're one of the only brands, in my opinion, that if they just wanted to say we are getting serious and we are entering the console gaming space or the handheld console gaming space, and they really got serious about it and put the right resources behind it, I think they would succeed. Yes, I do. I just don't know that they're likely to do that because the industry is so volatile right now, right? Like, it is clear right now that IP is king. And if you don't have, you need to have strong, recognizable intellectual property if you want to be successful today. It's just the way it is. I didn't make it this way. I don't think any one group of people made it this way. It's just the direction the industry went in. And when I think of Apple, I don't know in terms of IP and like what kind of games they could bring to the table, unless they just wanted to be involved on a hardware level. But if they want to be involved on a hardware level, they're going to have to do it the same way that Sony and Microsoft do, where it's about getting people in our ecosystem. But the main difference between Apple, seemingly, and Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo is that Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo are all going to have exclusive intellectual property, games that are theirs that you can't get anywhere else, that are going to draw people in. And, I just don't know that Apple would be able to succeed saying we are a third party option, because everybody's just going to say, okay, but like, what are you offering that I can only get on your gaming platform? And I'm not too familiar with Apple's like store or whatever, like their game store. I don't know if they actually have exclusive games at all, or games that like they make, or if they even have studios. I'm not familiar enough. I would have to look into it, but my assumption is they don't. Space Wolf says they don't make AAA games. Yeah, that I think that's the problem, right? Like, the volatility right now is mainly in the AAA game space. I think now more than ever, you're going to see not people, but companies avoiding AAA games, right? Or at least companies that are not familiar with how to make AAA games and don't have expertise. Yeah, that's the thing as well. Base Cat is pointing out that Apple makes billions with gaming. They earn 30% from sales / microtransactions. So I think from Apple's perspective, they are already winning in gaming. Because that is true. They make a ton of revenue. They do. They make a ton of revenue, and they don't really have to do anything. So why would they? All right, let me see here. Yeah, coffee time. Dragon Bat Spidey says, what if Eddie Brock really is the main antagonist of Spider-Man 2 and Insomniac is tricking us, just like how they did with Doc Ock from the first game's marketing? I'm open to anything, frankly. I'm open to anything happening in Spider-Man 2. I do fully anticipate there's going to be a couple twists and turns, a couple things that are going to surprise me, but I'm really open to anything happening. If they just want to play it safe, but they do it, they just focus on delivering a good story, I'm cool with that. If they want to go in a completely random direction that I just wasn't expecting, and Peter Parker takes a golf club to the head, then so be it. I'm just kidding. Of course, I'm not expecting anything that insane, but yeah, I'm definitely. Yeah, Screwball is going to be Venom. Wow, forgot about that character. Screwball, Venom confirmed. If Eddie Brock shows up, that would be awesome. If he doesn't, I wouldn't be shocked, But we'll see, man. I have no doubt Insomniac's trying to bamboozle us a little bit. 12 days. Man, is it really just 12 days from now? No, I think it's more than 12 days, isn't it? I think it's like 14 days, 13 days. We're close, though, man. We're so close. I'm interested to see how it reviews. I am. I can't help it. Reviews really don't mean much to me for a game like Spider-Man 2, except for the fact that it's just it's hard not to be interested. I can't help it. I'm just really curious to know, like, is it gonna surprise? That's what I want to know, because I think anything above a 90 would be surprising. I think if Spider-Man 2 got a 90 on Metacritic, exactly a 90, I think that would be great, but not shocking. I don't think many people would be that surprised. I think many people would be like, well, yeah, I mean, the game kind of looked like it was going to be a 90. If it gets anything above a 90, like a 91, a 92, or somehow a 93 or more, now that would be surprising. Spider-Man 2, 92 is what you're saying, Jack? Like, to me, I would be genuinely surprised, because it's just like, it's not to say that I don't expect it to be that good. It's just, I would have expected a couple of more, like a few more reviews being more critical for certain things, because it's a superhero game. And I feel like, I don't know, it just, because it is basically treading such familiar ground, I anticipate that some reviewers might be a little bit, like, it would be a little bit harder to impress them, if that makes sense. So if it were to sit at like a 92, that would be quite surprising to me. But yeah, for me, talking about Spider-Man 2 briefly, I mean, I'm just expecting it to be a great game. Like, I know that sounds so like, oh, well, duh, obviously, but I just mean, like, in the most, I don't know how to even explain it. I guess Spider-Man 2 is not the game that I anticipate shocking me and being like, wow. I expect it to be the game where, when I'm finished with it, that was great. That was really good. Thoroughly enjoyed every minute. Satisfying. Like, I expect that. Kind of like what I expected with Ragnarok. I think with Ragnarok, I was expecting a little bit more before I played it, like, in terms of surprises. And there were a couple surprises in Ragnarok for sure. But Ragnarok ended up being like exactly what I anticipated, right? Where there was just this kind of, it's a follow-up of Kratos and Atreus, and even more growth, a couple of surprises in there, a couple of really insane moments, and a pretty awesome conclusion. So it was everything I'd hoped for. Saying rinse, repeat. What's wrong with rinse, repeat? I mean, I do have a question here. So I'm going to read the rest of these chats, but it's a question I want to come back to, where it's like, a lot of people, they talk about things being like rinse and repeat. And I understand that calling something rinse and repeat, it's supposed to be a very negative thing, but I don't know, man. I've kind of gotten to a point where I'm always open and excited for new stuff, but at the same time, maybe it's because I don't know, I'm a little bit older now. I find a kind of comfort in rinse and repeat a little bit. Like I don't want it to be so rinse and repeat that it's like, okay, this is becoming just so bland. I don't even want to partake in it anymore. That I don't like. But generally speaking, like getting more of what I like, I'm not really opposed to that. You know what I mean? I think there has to be space though. That's the important thing. There has to be space and other things to fill that space. And I think that's kind of why I don't really feel like a lot of people are saying like Spider-Man 2 looks the same. It's like, guys, okay, putting aside the fact that I played Spider-Man Remastered, putting that aside, like I haven't really played a Spider-Man game since 2020, since the launch of the PS5. So it's like, you know, you're telling me 3 years later, here's a full-blown sequel. It's like I'm not gonna really feel bad about that. Maybe it's just me. MBG, did you see all the big Twitter guys memeing on the MJ downgrade? I haven't been on Twitter, so no. Is that new? I feel like that's not new. I think people have been kind of memeing on MJ since she showed up for the first time in that trailer. So it's not surprising to me, you know. I'll never understand that though. Like, I'll never understand the idea of like, I as a grown man am now going to cry about the way these developers made this woman look. She doesn't look how I want her to look, how I expect her to look. It's like, cool, man. Don't know what to tell you. I just feel like your life is a little bit sad, frankly. Like, I get it. I mean, don't get me wrong. If somebody's just like, she doesn't look very good, and then they move on, yeah, just give your opinion. Like, that's fine. You know, I think she looks good. She doesn't. You either like it, you don't. But there's like, I guess what I mean to say is I don't understand this hyper focus on, it's like we have to really talk about this and dive into it. It's like, do we really though? They want to make the characters ugly. Who cares? Who cares? They want to make the characters more beautiful. There's not like, who cares? If it's bothering you that much, just don't give them your money. Send them the only message they're going to receive and move on, man. Like if you think they ruined MJ, then don't buy the game. Or buy it and be very upset. I don't, you know what I mean? It's like I get it to an extent, but it's just where people are just so focused on these things that just like there's so much more to focus on. you know what I mean? Like that's the thing that gets me. If like Mary Jane was the main character and like the centerpiece of the story, and you know, this game is solely focused on her for some reason, which would be very strange because I don't know, that would be a very strange direction to go in with this Spider-Man game. But it's just like, okay, you don't like the way they made MJ look. You think she looks ugly, and you wish that they would go back to the way that they had her look in the first game. Okay, that's fine. What else do you have to say about this game? Because there's a lot more to this game than just how Mary Jane looks. You know, next they're going to be like, I can't believe what they did to Miles' hair. It's like, okay. I can't help you at this point. I don't know what to tell you. You're focused on all the wrong things. Some of the replies in the chat are great though. Dude, look, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I don't care how MJ looks. You know, they could put a paper bag over MJ's head the entire game. I wouldn't care. Like, I'm still going to play it and I'm still going to enjoy it. I'd question, why is she wearing a paper bag? But it's just going to be Spider-Man 2, man. You know, like... Yeah, I mean, dude, if you don't like the way MJ looks, go play Final Fantasy VII. There you go. I feel like that'd probably be something you're more into. Devil Shooter says, MBG, you may be kidding, but I heard people crying about Miles's hair. I mean, like, I don't want to downplay people who are being reasonable. I think it's fine to be reasonable. Again, to me, in this situation, a reasonable response is, I like it. I don't like it. And that's that. Because it's like, there's really not much to extract here. In my opinion. I see Jay Shako. Well, I mean, we haven't seen Black Cat yet. So I think people need to calm down. I'm really curious now about Black Cat, because I'll tell you, if they changed Black Cat in any way, then you're going to see the real meltdown. Man. Yeah. And at that point, I'm just going to be like, guys, they're asking for it. Don't people know that they're asking for it when they put this much focus on it, when they throw this much of a fit, when they're like, I'm outraged. Don't you realize you're asking for it because these developers are laughing at you? You know, like they see how uncomfortable they're making you and how hurt you are by these types of things. So the more attention you call to it, like the more they're going to do it. It's just how the universe works, man. So don't be surprised if Black Cat's next, guys. All right. Got really sidetracked there. Milo, a member for 4 months, says Sony buying Insomniac for $100 million is such a good deal, in my opinion. Insomniac is Sony's best studio at the moment. I highly agree. It is actually absurd how good of a deal. Let's just call it what it is. It's a steal. Let's call it what it is. Sony got Insomniac for a steal. I think that they bought Insomniac for around $260 million, something along those lines. I mean, that is... I almost feel bad for Insomniac. Because it's like, you look at how much heavy lifting they've done for the PlayStation 5. I think right now they are Sony's top studio in terms of just sheer output and being able to constantly turn out these high quality AAA games. I mean, it's crazy to me that they could have sold for at least $1 billion. But no, Sony got them for, I don't remember what the exact number was. I think it was between $250 and $300 million. But they seem very happy as a studio, which is good to see. You know, they seem like they are, what are they, like 500 plus developers now or something like that? They're growing. Each game keeps getting better and better. I mean, they got Wolverine. I still can't believe that. I still can't believe that even after Spider-Man 2, we have Wolverine coming. Jake Skew, a member for 5 months, says, I have 2 cats too, and I changed my avatar picture, MBG. Oh, I didn't notice, Jake. Yeah, I do see sometimes people who are here frequently, they change their profile pictures. That sometimes I notice. What always really confuses me, though, is sometimes people change their actual names, their usernames, and that really perplexes me because I'm talking to somebody that I've been talking to for possibly years, and then they let me know, oh, like I used to be so-and-so. It's like, oh. But yeah, man, I have 2 cats as well. Oh, I actually have 3 cats now, as you can see. Will says, notice the release dates of Helldivers and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. These are being released early for a reason. Sony's got a plan for the rest of the 10 months. I believe you, Will. I do. This notion that Sony doesn't have anything lined up to release for the 10 months after February 2024 that follow is kind of crazy. Like, I just don't know why people would assume that. Now, I could maybe see some people being disappointed in like, oh, well, we're going to get Concord, and that's a multiplayer shooter. I'm not interested. my big question mark is Wolverine. That's my big question mark. I'll be honest, I'm not anticipating Wolverine is going to come out in 2024. I think that would be too crazy. I couldn't see a reality in which Insomniac is able to ship Spider-Man 2 in October of this year and then somehow have Wolverine ready to ship by November of next year. I mean, that would be unbelievable. That would actually be difficult to believe. So for me, yeah, Wolverine is giving me maybe like early 2025 vibes as well. And so you do have to wonder what else Sony might have. I mean, we know that they apparently have this God of War deal. It's, we're referring to it as DLC, but it sounds like it's going to be a pretty massive expansion, or I recently came across the term half sequel. I never heard this term before, and I think it's been used before, but it's the first time I came across it, and I'm like, that's a perfect way to describe these types of games, like half sequels, because that's exactly what they are. And there is also Rise of the Ronin. The rumor is that Rise of the Ronin is currently scheduled for the first quarter, I think, of 2024. Got my my water bottle here today. Try my best to stay hydrated. I have not been doing a very good job hydrating, guys. Death Stranding 2. I mean, that could be a 2024 game. You guys hear that sound it's making? It's making this like high pitched. It's good stuff. All right. Nick Taylor, I have 2 super chats from you back to back, which I very much appreciate, buddy. Saying, bro, I feel like my comment on your video from 4 years ago got you talking about this. I was literally just watching that video, and you were saying you were an Xbox fan back then. Nick Taylor, the thing is, I'm not sure which video you're referring to. My comment on your video from 4 years ago. Nick, God, man, I mean, it could be any video. You'll have to be a little bit more specific. Like, if you could tell me what the video was about, maybe, or even what your comment was about. I feel like I'm lacking way too much context to even be able to begin to infer what you're talking about. But either way, dude, I do appreciate the super chats, Nick. Thank you. I have subtext here saying feelings about Abby in The Last of Us 2 always reminded me of issues with Raiden from MGS2. I loved MGS2, but a lot of people hated playing Raiden instead of Snake. Yeah, I was definitely disappointed in that decision that Kojima made with MGS2. Right? Like, I think there is a big difference between what they did with Abby's character versus Raiden's, where the big problem with Raiden is he took over the role of Snake, essentially, and people didn't like that. But Snake didn't die, right? Like, Snake was still there, and, Pliskin. But I do feel like I was one of those people that wasn't a big fan, because I did, when I first played MGS2, I really was like, oh, wait. And Raiden was such a different character from Snake as well. And I understand, like, from a story perspective why they had to do that. But one of the things I remember thinking to myself when I first played MGS2 is just thinking, oh my God, like, why is Raiden such a baby? Like, how is this the guy that's on this secret special mission? And of course, you get to the end of the game, it kind of makes more sense. But I just remember thinking, like, man, this guy is just, this is unbelievable. But I don't know, man. Somehow, though, I still ended up liking Raiden by the end of the game. And I really ended up liking the story. And that's the thing, is, like, if you were to compare the story of Metal Gear Solid 2 and the arc of that story, beginning, middle, end, versus something like The Last of Us Part 2. In a way, they couldn't be more different, right? So, yeah, definitely something worth thinking about here when we talk about the kind of switch up, the bait and switch routine with protagonists or playable protagonists. Eric from 850 with a super chat says, I don't understand people saying Joel got too soft in part 2. It was trust Abby or face a horde of infected, certain death versus risk of death from someone he just saved. The writing seems logical to me. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess it kind of does call to what I said, right? It does kind of shine a light on when I said that it seems like Joel got about as unlucky as you could get, because what you're describing here is true. That was the situation. They were facing a massive horde of infected, and they needed to rely on each other to survive and not get, ripped to pieces by the infected. And it is kind of funny to think that it's like either certain death or risk of death from the stranger. And it's like, well, all right. Yeah, I don't think I'll die. Why would I die from this stranger? I mean, they could be dangerous, but you'd have to be pretty unlucky, right? To just survive. But then again, yeah. A lot of people do point that out. They're like, why did Joel just give his name so casually? And I have to call that out, where logically speaking, you'd have to be pretty stupid. You would, I think, to do something like that. Because it's like, if you think about what Joel did at the end of The Last of Us 1, I mean, you would think you're just about ready to completely change your identity at that point. Or just have a made up name ready to go for strangers. Wasn't it Tommy that said his name first? You know what? It could have been. Which actually, if that is what happened, because to be honest, I don't remember. Humans make mistakes. Yeah, they do. That is true. Dude, if it was Tommy that said his name, then yeah, at that point, you think Joel would have turned to Tommy and be like, you gotta be kidding me, bro. Saying you're pretty sure it was Joel. Well, either way, what are you gonna do? I do think it makes more sense if it was Tommy that said their names, because I could see how Tommy, I could just kind of see him slipping up a little bit and being not as worried about it. The idea that Joel would just go around telling people his name, though, that is strange to me. That wouldn't necessarily. You're saying Tommy casually says it twice to strangers. That to me, that is more logical. Still a little wow, man, are you serious? Did you not listen to what your brother told you he did? Damn, where would you zone out? William, you're saying, MBG, think about the roadmap the way you think about the shareholder's perspective instead of the gamer's perspective. After Spider-Man 2, the lineup of products for the foreseeable future is blank. And you have a second part to what you're saying here, which I'll try to check that out. But Eric, I am in agreement with the way in which Joel and Abby had to basically be forced to work together to survive that horde. Which is so crazy that that even happened that way. But yeah, from that perspective, I think it was logical. Let me see here. Maybe Tommy is the villain in The Last of Us Part 3. Oh my God. Dude, I would be so done. I would be so done with this series if they went in that direction where it's now Ellie's hunting down Tommy or some shit like that. I'd be like, what? Excuse me? That would be just damn. William's second part here says Sony has a fiduciary requirement to tell their shareholders what their next product will be. Think of 2020 Showcase as phase 1. Spider-Man ends phase 1. Next will be phase 2 announcements. I mean, it makes sense, William. I've tried to hold that perspective as well, where it's like, this idea that we're going to have another disappointing show sometime in 2024, it seems highly unlikely to me. Because what you're saying is true. I mean, the shareholders are just as in the dark to an extent as we are as the players. And Sony's going to have to get out here and get everybody excited. I mean, this is how it's how the money's going to be made, right? So, Hollywood Will Burn says Elden Ring is a copy and paste Dark Souls. It is. It is. That's the thing is people talk about rinse and repeat. I mean, Elden Ring is about as rinse and repeat as you can get to an extent. But, no, let me take that back. Not as you can get, but it is very rinse and repeat. And that's not a bad thing. Do you know how many boss battles in Elden Ring are basically taken right out of Dark Souls 1 through 3 and Bloodborne? The weapons, the gameplay, I mean, the environments, the spells. And that's not a bad thing. Like, that's why I'm saying, like, people will say these things where they're like, Elden Ring is the most innovative, unique thing I've ever played in my life. And I'm tired of these rinse and repeat sequels. Like, you must not have played Dark Souls 1 through 3. Because if you did, you would realize that Elden Ring does innovate in a way where it takes that Dark Souls formula and says, what if we went open world? And they nailed it. Like, in that regard, it's not rinse and repeat. And that's where you do have to give Elden Ring credit, where we haven't really seen anything like this done in this way. But so many aspects of the game itself are like, yeah, we've already done this. And that's fine, because I love that. That's what I love. Dude, that's what got me excited about Elden Ring. I got excited about Elden Ring. I'll never forget when they showed the first gameplay demo, and I was like, oh my God, this is open world Dark Souls. And my hype for it rose substantially because I absolutely adore Dark Souls. Dark Souls 1 through 3 is like, it's one of my favorite series ever, truly, and always will be. So I loved Elden Ring because it was like Dark Souls. I think I still like Dark Souls better, though. Dark Souls 1 just has a special place in my heart. It does. Something about Dark Souls 1. I'll never forget experiencing that game, man. Elden Ring is the evolution of Dark Souls. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. I mean, that's the thing is like, I wouldn't use copy and paste as a term to describe Elden Ring. But if somebody were to use that term, I would not be able to fully disagree with you where it's like, well, yeah, there are many aspects of it that are copy and paste, but there are also things it's doing differently than the Souls games. So either way, Elden Ring's awesome. Highly recommend it. Call of Duty is copy and paste. Mm-hmm. Yeah, have you guys seen Modern Warfare 3? I mean, people can get mad. And that's why, that's the thing. There's no point in getting upset. I don't know if you guys have seen gameplay of Modern Warfare 3. It is literally copy and paste. I mean, on a literal level. There's no exaggeration. There's no hyperbole here. That's what it is. But there's no reason to get mad because people have determined this is okay. And it's going to happen. So it's like, it reminds me of that meme of the group of stick figure people in a circle, like enjoying something. And that one person standing outside the circle, like saying, stop having fun. It does remind me of that because it's like Activision knows people are going to buy this game and that it's going to be the best selling game of the year. Millions of people have determined that, yeah, they're going to buy this game and they're going to play it. And it's like I saw recently the new Assassin's Creed. Apparently, a lot of people are saying that the new Assassin's Creed is underwhelming because it plays it too safe. Like it's going back towards the direction of the original games where it's a little bit tighter. It's, kind of going back to the roots, but it's very it's like playing it way too safe, where it's like, this is almost just the exact same with even less interesting characters. And it's like, I don't know why exactly they went in that direction specifically, but it's like, the game's going to do just fine. It is. I'm not saying we shouldn't point these things out. I guess I'm just saying, like, you see people kind of freak out every year over this stuff, and it's like, it's all in vain because they're not listening. Still, point it out, but they're not listening. Excuse me. I like a little belch there. Don't know if that came through the mic. You're saying AC Mirage is boring. It's not even close to how great the old games are. Well, I'm speaking from the outside looking in. You're saying it does the bare minimum. Oh, I didn't know that. Am I going to play the MW3 beta? Yeah, I think it is going open. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Why not? You know, why not? I expect I'll be blown away. I will be shocked. I'll be like, wow, I can't believe this. This is so fresh and new. Who would have thought? Once Spider-Man 2 comes out, that's the end of Phase 1. There will be another showcase either in December of this year or early 2024 that will outline another Future of Gaming showcase. I will say this, William. The days of being able to confidently predict when Sony will do a showcase, those days are long gone. And what I mean by that is, you're right, Sony could do a showcase in December. Like, I'm not expecting it, but they could. They could do one in January. They could do one in March. They could do it whenever they want, because it's just, they've fully embraced doing digital showcases. And when has Sony ever done a showcase in May? I don't recall Sony ever doing a showcase in May, and yet that's what we got last year. In 2022, they just said we won't do a showcase. And that was kind of surprising. So, who knows, man? Sony knows. We don't. We'll find out eventually. All right, let me see. So, guys, I forgot to ask, by the way, we're about a little over an hour and a half into this stream. Be sure to hit that like button for me. I'd really appreciate that. It helps the streams a lot. All right, we're going to move on to... So, we talked about a bunch of different things so far over the course of the stream. The first thing we really talked about was The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. So, yeah. That's coming. I have a little update here on Silent Hill 2, though. It says here, ever since Konami confirmed years of rumors to reveal that a Silent Hill 2 remake was indeed in production, fans have been eagerly awaiting the day they'll once again be able to step in the shoes of protagonist James Sunderland and go back to the town after receiving a letter from Mary. Recent activity on the Steam page suggests that news about the launch date could be forthcoming. As listed on SteamDB, the Silent Hill 2 remake page was updated to remove the mention of Portuguese subtitles and add Brazilian and Ukrainian subtitles. Most importantly, support for Steam achievements was added. The latter is usually introduced when game development is drawing to a close. This isn't surprising. Nearly a year ago, we learned that the remake has been in production since 2019. And I think it was Blooper Team CEO accidentally said we are in the late stage of production where all the elements are being polished. And I think he kind of like took that back, like, oh no, it's up to, Konami whenever. So, and it says here, moreover, actor Luke Roberts, who voices protagonist James Sunderland, told fans the Silent Hill 2 remake is targeting an early 2024 launch window. If that's still the case, a release date announcement is overdue and could be something we get during October. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about this because it's been about a year since we had this game announced, and we haven't heard really anything of it. And it is interesting that I didn't even know that the voice actor said that the game is targeting early 2024. I mean, that would be awesome. we already kind of have some significant titles to look forward to with PlayStation in early 2024. We have, as we've established, Helldivers 2 and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But if you were to throw in Silent Hill 2 Remake in there, that would be a big deal. I will say that would be kind of a random time, though, for a game like Silent Hill 2 to release. I honestly have always viewed this game as a kind of title that would release in the holiday season, maybe like October. But there are now people speculating that we're going to be getting what's it called? Another Silent Hill transmission, which would be interesting. What do you guys think? Let me see here. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we do hear more from Silent Hill 2, just because it's like we haven't seen anything really. Like, we haven't seen gameplay, we haven't seen a new trailer. It's just been silence pretty much. So the idea that they're like, well, it's been literally 1 year. Maybe now we can give them something. We can give them something. A release date would be great. Some gameplay would be great too. What happened to the Twisted Metal game? I think it's still in development. I believe Fire Sprite is the one working on Twisted Metal. And it hasn't been announced yet, but you have to imagine that we're getting closer to it. So, all right. Well, that's the update I have for you. It's not a big update. Obviously, it's just a lot of this stuff is, people are trying to find anything they can because we just haven't. There's been minimal communication with these games. Now, I want to move over to something else here, though. I came across this article from Gaming Bolt. It says Marvel Spider-Man 2 12 things you may not know. And I wanted to just cover this really quick. So we know about fall damage. We talked about that. For those who aren't aware, you can turn on fall damage and presumably die. At least that's, I guess, the expectation. They have swing steering. It says alongside fall damage, Insomniac has confirmed that another option that will be available to players in Marvel Spider-Man 2 is an assist for steering yourself while you're swinging. Specific details on this haven't been revealed, but presumably the swing steering assist will make the process of directing yourself while you're swinging a bit easier and a bit more automated. But, we need them to confirm that. So I don't know if you guys heard about this or not, but apparently swing steering is a thing you can turn on or off. We have accessibility features. Sony's first-party studios have been at the forefront of pushing accessibility features in their games in recent years, and Marvel Spider-Man 2 will continue that trend. And I'm not going to go over the whole list, but the game is packed with accessibility features. We got the partial trophy list, so we know about that. Slingshot technique. The traversal was arguably the best thing in both Spider-Man games so far, and it looks like that's very much going to be the case in the upcoming sequel as well, thanks to the many improvements and refinements Insomniac is promising. One smaller addition that's caught a few eyes is a new slingshot technique, which will allow you to attach two webs to objects to either side of you, pull yourself back as much as possible, and then instantly launch yourself. So we've seen that. I actually think that's really cool. I've seen a lot of people kind of like talking about whether or not Insomniac was really going to add like meaningful updates and improvements to the traversal, but the slingshot mechanic is something that I feel like it's one of these things where, like, I've seen it so many times, but I just like never really actually thought like how useful that's actually going to be. You can run into the other Spider-Man. So I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but it's been confirmed that when you're out there, if you're playing as Peter Parker and you're out there in the open world, occasionally you will actually run into Miles doing his own thing, which is very cool. Dolby Atmos has been confirmed for Spider-Man 2, a more vibrant New York. Coney Island is going to be there. And they say here other characters, DualSense features, and the length of the game. So a lot of this stuff we did talk about. Now that I'm looking through this article, I feel like, yeah, this is all stuff we kind of knew. I expected there to be maybe something there we weren't fully aware of, but yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, apparently you can use the roller coasters at the theme park. So that's exciting, guys, right? Jake TRML. Shout out to Jake TRML. He decides he wants to join and become a channel member today. So let's get some W's in the chat for Jake TRML. Thank you so much for that, man. I appreciate you showing your support. Bringing us up to 13 members on the day, which is awesome to see.
Thank you.
Enjoy your perks, man. You now have access to member exclusive content. Every piece of member exclusive content that was made previously, and as long as you remain a member, every piece of content that I'm going to be releasing. And you also now have the ability to gift membership. So good stuff, man. Really appreciate that. Let me see here. So check this out. I came across this article from VGC. They say AI program ChatGPT was used to write the apology for the bug-filled Lord of the Rings Golem game, it's been claimed. In interviews with the German gaming outlet Game2, several former DLAC staff members have spoken for the first time about what went wrong with the critically planned licensed game. Following the release of Golem, DLAC apologized for delivering what it called an underwhelming experience with the final game. The company said, "We deeply regret that the game did not meet expectations and pledged to improve it via future updates." It's now being claimed that that apology was written with an AI software, ChatGPT, according to two sources speaking to Game2. It's also claimed that developer DLAC had no knowledge of the apology or its content prior to publishing, and that it was handled entirely by publisher Nacon. At the time of publishing, Golem is the lowest rated game of the year on both major aggregation sites Metacritic and OpenCritic, with The Guardian labeling it a derivative, uninteresting, and fundamentally broken stealth action adventure that fails to capture anything interesting about Tolkien's fiction. Golem's development budget is reported to have been around 15 million euros, a modest sum for a game in the AAA space in 2023. So, dude, what the hell? I don't know if gaming news is just this slow or if this is actually a big deal or not, but damn, dude, you know, these publishers can't even write their own apologies anymore. They're now going to Chat GPT and AI to say, please write this apology for us for our broken game. Oh, man. What a nightmare, though, Golem was. I didn't play it. I'll never play it. But I've seen some gameplay, and game looks like straight up nightmare fuel. And I also wanted to mention here, yeah, I know, right? They can't even say sorry themselves. They gotta, God, that's just sad, man. That honestly is just sad. What do you guys think about this game, Lords of the Fallen? This is coming out in a couple days. I think it's coming out October 13th. I thought for the longest time, I really thought that Lords of the Fallen was coming out in November. And so when I found out that it was actually coming out in October, again, in just a couple days, I was quite surprised by it. I think, I've been watching more gameplay of Lords of the Fallen, and it actually looks pretty damn good, man. It does. I mean, the gameplay looks pretty good. The boss battles look great, but it's really the visual of the world, you know, the aesthetic. It really, I think, is doing a good job kind of capturing this blend of Elden Ring and Bloodborne a little bit, but obviously Dark Souls. And I mean, there is maybe the question, are there too many Souls-like games being made? And I think the answer is yes, I do. I think there are too many Souls-likes, but at the same time, I frequently find myself kind of being a sucker for many of these Souls-like games because, again, the Dark Souls games are some of my favorite of all time, but Lords of the Fallen, I really wasn't paying much attention to. I think when we were like streaming events and stuff, I think I've seen a couple of trailers. I'm like, oh, that looks really good. And I think I was saying like, yeah, I'm definitely going to play that. But more recently, I kind of came across some videos where people, I guess, got to go hands-on with the game and talk about it. And it actually looks better than I was expecting. So I think I'm going to pick this game up. I do. And if I pick that up, that means, so there's, the only thing about it is it's so close to Spider-Man 2. I'll definitely have to put it down for Spider-Man 2. But it looks really interesting. When I say interesting, I don't mean that it looks original. I just think it looks good. It looks like it has a lot of potential to be a very solid Souls-like game. Hopefully it's not bad. I don't know. It could be really bad. Am I going to play Lies of P and Lords of the Fallen? Yeah, I don't know, man. I might have to balance these two out. That's a good question. I don't know how I'm going to balance out playing all these games because there's those two, and then there's Spider-Man 2, and then there's Alan Wake 2. But I don't know. Then there's all of November and all of December, so this could be plenty of time for me to kind of make time for all of these games. Am I going to play Honkai Star Rail? No, I don't think I will. I don't think I will. That name, Honkai. I don't think I could ever bring myself to play anything that starts with the word Honkai. It just sounds, I don't know. It's got a certain ring to it that makes me feel uncomfortable. Yeah, I did see recently that Larian was asking their players if they would like to see a physical release for a PS5 version of Baldur's Gate 3. And I think they're going to end up doing it. And it's like, dude, at that point, Remedy with Alan Wake 2 will be like the only one not offering some kind of physical release for this game. It's driving me nuts. Like they just are now coming off so stubborn to me. It's like, guys, come on, man. Come on. Just make a physical version. Charge $70 for it for all I care. I'll buy it. Charge $80 for it, and I might buy it. I just want to be able to collect this game physically. Well, guys, this is quite the unexpected stream, simply because those are the topics. Normally, it takes us until like the 3.5 hour mark or longer before we get through all the topics. But today, we already got through them all because there's not a whole lot going on right now. There's not a whole lot to talk about. I mean, we're on the cusp of some big game releases. And so what I'll do, I don't want to end the stream yet because I think it's like feels too soon to me. It's not, we haven't even hit the 2 hour mark. Oops, just smashed my desk there. Saying you need some Silent Hill news. I think we might be getting some Silent Hill news soon. So I figured what we could do now is, I'll just hang out with the chat, chill with you guys for a bit, talk to you. And as I'm saying that, we have Jake Skew. Dude, Jake Skew is keeping the membership train going today. And William was gifted a membership, which is awesome to see. So Jake, dude, shout out to you, man. I think that's what, 3 memberships gifted today, which is awesome to see. So thank you for keeping that going, my friend. MBG, funny gaming memories. Got funny gaming memories? I don't know. I think like for some reason, the first thing that came to my mind when you say funny gaming memories was, I think back when Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was out, me and my friends would just constantly go into private matches and you could mess with like all the settings and you could make it so that you're like the physics, like you basically became like a rag doll. And we would just go around like standing on cars and stuff and blowing each other up and just seeing like how far our bodies would like fly out of the map and shit. And we would do that for hours. So kind of weird now that I'm looking back on it, but we thought it was like the funniest thing ever. I don't know. I don't know why. Like looking back on it, like really wasn't that funny. But yeah, that was something we did for a while. Another funny gaming memory is when I would play online. We'd play Metal Gear Solid 3 online. Shout out to Metal Gear Solid 3 online, or technically MGO1. I don't know if any of you guys ever played this, but on the PlayStation 2, Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence came out, and it did feature online multiplayer. And one of the things we would do sometimes is like mess around with the enemy team where you could knock them out. You know, if you played MGS3, you know the mechanics. You could knock them out, and you could kind of like drag their body around. And it was kind of messed up in a way, but these were some really unique game mechanics that I don't recall playing in any other game, where we would just knock people out and just kind of like just fuck around with them. And, you know, just knowing that there was somebody on the other side, like you have to basically rotate your thumbstick in a circle to wake yourself up. And as soon as they, I guess this is starting to sound a little weird, isn't it? But we'd basically be trolling them because we would knock them out and we would just, you know, fuck around a little bit. And then when they got close to waking up, we would just turn and like shoot them in the head, and they'd have to respawn. And it was probably, I don't know, not the greatest experience for those players, but you know, they say that the Metal Gear Online community was pretty toxic, and looking back on it, it's like I may have contributed to that a little bit. Baby Vamp, nice name. You're saying MGS Online has been one of my most beloved online games. Had a lot of fun in portable ops and MGO from MGS4. Yeah, dude, MGS4 the online was so fun. It really was. It was so ahead of its time. It was a great experience. I did play Metal Gear Online 3 for a little while with Metal Gear Solid 5, but it just wasn't the same. It was pretty fun. Konami was like, you know, focused on microtransactions a little too much, which was very annoying, but it was okay. It was okay. I mean, MGS5's gameplay was really good. It was very smooth. I really enjoyed it, and I think it did translate well into the multiplayer space. But there was just something, I don't know. There was something about the previous Metal Gear Online games, MGO 1 and 2. They just had this kind of unique feel to them. They had these extremely unique mechanics that, to this day, I've never seen replicated or done in any other game. Let's see here. MBG, so many games, but none of them I want to play until Spider-Man. Beef Jerky says, hot take, Herman Hulst is doing a bad job. Well, why do you think that? You're saying Herman Hulst is busy enjoying life on yachts while Naughty Dog is fumbling The Last of Us multiplayer? I hate to say it, but Herman does seem out of touch, man. I mean, the thing, it's really difficult for me to get a proper read on Herman Hulst because he's just not. I mean, he's in the shadows on the yacht. You know, like I don't know what he's doing because he doesn't talk about what he's doing. So I don't know. I do worry that he could be out of touch simply because I remember back in May, after PlayStation Showcase, he put out this like tweet where he was like, "What a great showcase. Hope everybody enjoyed it." And like everybody was like, "No, we didn't enjoy it, Herman." You know? And he was just like gone. We just didn't hear from him. He's living on a yacht. I mean, I don't know. It would be difficult for me to believe that Herman wouldn't be good at running PlayStation Studios because he's a creative, you know? He He's coming from Killzone, from Horizon Zero Dawn. Saying Herman Hulst disappeared after the 24th event. Feels like he's grounded. Wait, so... Yeah, has he tweeted at all? I'm going to go check now, actually. Did he disappear? Let me go check. Oh, wow. You were not kidding. His last tweet is from May 24th. Congrats to our friends at Bungie for the announcement of a second franchise. Marathon is going to be another signature Bungie game. And then he talks about Spider-Man 2 from the showcase. On May 17th, he posted his visit to San Diego studio. Yeah, let me go check his replies. I didn't realize that he... Wait, did he delete that one tweet? No, he didn't. Oh my God. It's such a bad... So, yeah, I'm looking at this tweet from Herman Hulst, man. It's such a bad look. It was from May 24th. He said, couldn't be more thrilled. This was after the showcase. Couldn't be more thrilled and proud of what's coming from PlayStation Studios. Spider-Man 2, mind-blowing. Special shout out to our new family members, Haven and Firewalk Studios, for unveiling games they've got in store for you all. And below that, Phil Spencer says, congrats to you and the teams on the showcase. I know a ton of work goes into these shows, and it's fun to get to see what's coming. Nice kickoff to the show season. And Herman replies saying, thanks, Phil. And underneath Herman's reply is everybody just freaking out. Like, dude, the top comment underneath Herman's reply to Phil is, listen to me carefully, Herman. The true value of PlayStation brand lies in its fans. If you insult us again by delivering such a weak conference in the future, we demand that you be immediately fired from the company. Oh my God, dude. These no wonder why he left Twitter after that, bro. He got bullied off of Twitter. I'm looking at all these replies. He got fucking slaughtered. I didn't realize it was that bad. William, you're saying, well, William, I'll wait for your, you're doing a two-parter here, so I'll wait for the second part before I read it so it can be cohesive. I'm looking around to see what other replies he may have gotten. Disappointing. It would have been in a good state of play. This isn't PlayStation Showcase level. Not a PlayStation quality event. With all due respect, Herman, it could have been better. It was a showcase. We expect much more from a showcase. Trash show. Oh, man. Yeah, it's not good here. I don't see any positive replies. Somebody says, what the F are you thinking of doing a showcase with such a small presence from PlayStation Studios? Almost 2 years of waiting to see Spider-Man 2 and CGI trailers for live service games. Wow, it's kind of weird to go back and read these replies because I kind of forgot like just how pissed off people actually were. Absolutely garbage show. Go and watch 2016's E3 representation. Understand what we actually want. Dude, some of these memes too, though, or GIFs, it's so bad. All right, so William, you're saying predicting a showcase is hard, but there will always be stated plays in September because it's for the shareholders. That's why Sony and Nintendo go the same day. That's why I say, I think from the perspective of the shareholders about game announcements, Sony is required to tell the shareholders about a lineup. 2019 had no showcase. 2022 had 2 for phase 1. 2024, phase 2. I hope you're right, William. That'd be great. That would be great. I really do wonder if Herman got the feedback. Because, looking over here at the replies from people and what's being said, I hope he got the feedback. I hope him and Sony in general are aware that they. I just hope that they're aware that they got to do a lot better, dude. I'm scrolling through Twitter and I see this clip of Arnold come up. Crazy fan drop kicks Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm watching, and I remember this. This was from a couple years ago, where Arnold is just he's taking some photos with some fans, and some douchebag runs up and literally, and dude, he literally drop kicks Arnold from behind, and I shit you not. I'm looking at this clip now. This guy is a little bitch because he, even with all his force trying to drop kick Arnold moves like a foot, bro. He literally just gets nudged forward a little bit. And Arnold's in like his 70s here. And he turns around looking at like, what the fuck? And meanwhile, the guy who drop kicked him is on the ground, like fucking rolling, getting tackled and shit. What a beast. How sad do you have to be to do something like that, though? Like, why do people think doing shit like that's cool? Like, it's not cool. It's just, it's pathetic and it's cringe. Oh, man. Yeah. Imagine being dumb enough to try to drop kick the Terminator. All right, let's see here. Saying Haven Studios is a great investment because of the head lead who made Assassin's Creed. We'll see. I'm not sold on Haven Studio yet. I'm not sold on Haven. I feel like Haven could be completely hit or miss. I mean, I know there's a lot of faith in Jade Raymond, but I was kind of excited initially to hear about Haven just because it's the prospect of a new game and a new IP, and I think I heard like Mark Cerny might be involved, but then they announced their game, FairGames, and I recently went back and watched that trailer, and I got to see the gameplay. Like, I absolutely need to see the gameplay because I'm not sold on that trailer whatsoever. I'm not sold on the trailer. I'm not sold on anything about the game. So for me, I'm mainly indifferent to it because it's like, okay, well, you guys have a game. Let's see the gameplay. I would like to learn more about it. And we'll see where it goes. You're saying the beta was slated for this year, but it might now be February. Yeah, didn't they say something? Like, I think at the end of May, they at the end of the showcase when they showed this trailer, they said that they were getting ready for a beta, and we haven't heard like anything. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know, man. It's a little weird. Saying it seems to be like a Watch Dogs multiplayer. I mean, I would say it's this or it's that, but it's just a CG trailer, man. Like, I have no idea. Is it first person? Is it third person? I mean, it looks so, if I'm being brutally honest here, man, and I'm not even, like, I'm not trying to be negative, but that trailer made me uninterested in the game, frankly. And again, I'm not saying that to be rude towards the game or because it could be great. I don't know, but it really just turned me off and made me think. You know what was so weird? And I don't mean to be retreading old ground for no reason, but now that we're talking about FairGames, I can't believe Sony decided to open their showcase with that trailer. Like, that to me was like just a totally like, what the fuck situation? Like, what is going on here? Because it's like, when you think about the level of hype and excitement for a PlayStation showcase, and maybe it is Herman Hulst's fault. I don't know. I don't know if he's the one that's directly responsible for putting these things together or if there's somebody else in charge. But somebody there at Sony said, this is how we're going to kick off our first showcase in over a year and a half. And it's like, what? Like this is it? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I would like to know who's in charge of running this stuff or putting these shows together and like deciding like what goes first, because that just Scott and Connie. It must be confidence in the actual product. We'll see, man. We'll see. I don't know what Sony's level of at this point, I don't know what their level of confidence is with their live service games. It's impossible to determine. Blind confidence is a thing? Yeah, it could be. You know, I remember reading this interview with Herman Hulst. We're going to know. Guys, I'm telling you. Do you know what game we can use to judge Herman Hulst as the head of PlayStation First Party? Concord. I mean, of course, Haven's FairGames, but I would think mostly about Concord, because I remember recently reading an interview with Herman Hulst where he specifically said, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm pretty close to the direct quote. He said, Firewalk has created something truly special, and I think PlayStation fans are going to be very delighted and excited about what they end up seeing with this game. And I'm just like, okay, Herman, you're either talking out your ass like you have no idea what PlayStation fans actually want, or you are that confident in what you're seeing here that you think this new first-person shooter is going to get PlayStation fans very excited. And it could. We have no idea, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I think that Concord will be a good title to gauge what's going on with Herman Hulst and whether or not he's actually out of touch with the PlayStation fan base as the head of Sony's first party, because I mean, he really talked up this game from Firewalk. He really talked up Concord, and it's like, dude, if Concord comes out and is like a wet fart, it's gonna be like, Herman, what the fuck are you doing? You know, like, are you serious? And it's gonna go one way or the other. You know, like we're gonna see Concord, and PlayStation fans are either gonna look at each other and be like, holy shit, this looks incredible, or PlayStation fans are gonna look at each other and be like, this looks horrible. And it's gonna go one way or the other. It's gonna go one way or the other, man. I don't see Concord being one of these games where it's like, oh, it looks okay. Saying it might be like Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. I mean, it's got like this futuristic space theme to it. It almost gave me like this kind of Guardians of the Galaxy vibe, a little, as weird as that sounds. I got this kind of Guardians of the Galaxy vibe with it. Even I don't know if that's... Am I the only one who got that feeling with that trailer? It looks like it's going to be a hero shooter. Yes. And see, this is why, dude, this is why I'm like, dude, if Herman Hulst, if Concord comes out and they're like, and here's the moment you've all been waiting for, a new cringe hero shooter. It's like, dude, Herman, what's going on over there, man? You spending too much time on the yacht, bro. Spending too much time on the yacht. Saying it's not a hero shooter. I don't know what it is. I mean, they referred to they called them a colorful cast of characters. So you tell me what you think. Colorful cast of characters for the first-person shooter Concord. I don't know. I'm not like, look, I know I'm being a little bit, or maybe very cynical right now, but it's just that it's going to take a lot at this point for me to be won over by some of these games, because The Last of Us multiplayer was like the multiplayer game from Sony I was most excited about That's done. And these other titles, I mean, like Marathon is fine, right? Like that's going to be Bungie. I'm sure it'll do fine for Sony and for Bungie, and maybe it'll be cool. I don't know. But FairGames, totally not won over on. Concord, I'm not won over on. And I want these games to be good. I do. I want the reason why I want these games to be good, and I'm telling you now, like we shouldn't be rooting for their failure, is for the simple fact that these games are like almost done. I mean, years of development time have went into them. These are new PlayStation studios. If these games fail, these studios are getting folded. Flat out. Like, if FairGames is a flop, the studio is going to get closed down at some point because they were specifically bought for this game. Or like same with Firewalk, right? Where it's like these are brand new, unproven studios, and if they come out and if they just shit the bed and they start to hurt Sony's reputation and they just fail, they don't make money, they don't have a player base, it's going to be problematic. It is. And this is where you really look. I know that this is going to be maybe overly critical, but we really have to consider this. Jim Ryan clearly told Herman Hulst, probably starting sometime in 2020, we're going all in with live service. Herman, your job as the head of PlayStation First Party, go find some studios that are working on live service games, multiplayer games. Go find them, ones that you think will be good, and we'll see what we can do. And they straight up bought these studios. And I think some people maybe forget that Sony literally bought Firewalk and owns them. This is a first-party PlayStation studio. We have no idea what the quality of this game. We have no idea. It could be incredibly high quality. It could be a fantastic game that somehow, some way ends up being like the next thing. Or it could be a shit show. Like it could be not even close to what we expect from PlayStation level quality from a first party studio. And I just think that there's something to be said for the nature of a live service game. We should probably establish this right now. The expectation for Firewalk Studio with Concord is this game needs to have a very healthy player base. It does. It's a full-blown live service game. It has to have a healthy player base. What if it doesn't? Does Sony just say, okay, we'll just keep feeding money into this studio and into this game even though nobody's playing it? What if it just turns out that this game is no different than like 95% of other live service attempts, and it's just super unremarkable and bland, and everybody's just like, this ain't it. I'm going to go back to Apex. I'm going to go back to Call of Duty. I'm going to go back to whatever it is you normally play. So Sony, you know what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying. It is kind of fucking crazy that Sony, like the more I think about it, it is kind of crazy that Sony just bought these studios when they have no idea how people are going to feel about these games. Saying that's why they got Bungie. I guess. I mean, maybe. We'll see. I mean, the thing that's interesting about Firewalk Studio is that they have a ton of former Bungie employees. Like they're basically like Bungie Junior, essentially, from what I can tell. So it's like, I don't know, maybe there's some kind of hope there, maybe. Yeah, that is true, Swizz. Jim Ryan did say that they do expect some of them to fail, so they must have a plan. I just don't want to see like a nightmare scenario unfold. That's all. I don't want to see this whole thing basically turn into a disaster for Sony where it's like we decided to go all in with live service and it turns out we underestimated everything and we overestimated Bungie, and before you know it, like studios are shutting down, games are being canceled and shit. It's just, I'm not saying any of this is happening. It's just I'm viewing it from a glass half empty perspective, but it could work out well. It could. I mean, we could see a situation like next year, for example. We start the year with Helldivers 2, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, maybe Silent Hill 2 Remake comes out in like March or something, or April, and Sony puts on a showcase around that time, May, June, and at this showcase, they show Wolverine, the God of War half sequel, maybe the God of War half sequel is coming out the second half of the year, maybe even Wolverine will come out the second half of the year, and then they're like, oh, and here's Concord, and Concord's coming out in like July or September or something. And maybe we just look at Concord and we're like, okay, like it looks fine, I guess. And it just doesn't make a splash. And it just releases. And it's just like, there it is. If you want to go play it. But if you don't, we got our big single player game coming, at the end of the year and whatnot. I don't know. It could go many different ways. MBG, Sony's sleeping on the Resistance IP. Yeah, Chris, you're saying FairGames is supposed to be different from anything on the market. I struggle to believe that, man. It could be. It could be. It could be. But I'd have to see it to believe it, truthfully. Space Gambler saying you have a wait and see attitude. Yeah, I think that's a good attitude to have. I'm just, I'm just at the end of my rope here with this stream, just speculating on the live service aspect. I guess maybe the most ideal scenario for these live service games is for them to release kind of in between the expected single player games. I think this would be the best way for them to handle it. That to me would be, it would be okay, because it's like if it's not received well, yeah, people are gonna like rag on it and whatnot, but at least you have like a proper single player game coming shortly after to kind of make up for it. But I don't know if that's going to be a realistic possibility. Let me see here. What do you guys think? If you had to guess if FairGames and Concord are going to be a success or not, just like off the top of your head, you think they're going to succeed or you think they're going to fail? Success or failure? What do you think? What if Chris says, what if Abandon comes out and it blows your mind? Yeah, what if, man? What if? Oh, God. 2024 looks mighty spooky for Sony. 100% fail. Will says a success. Ish says fail. Devil Shooter says mid at best. Rufus says fail. It'll be interesting to see, man. It will be, because I mean, these are like veteran, experienced developers, so it's hard to say if they're gonna, if they're gonna drop the ball or not here. But Will says, "Trust me, MBG, Sony got this." Well, I think. See, that's the thing. I think even if Sony does struggle with their live service endeavor, I don't think that means that they're going to struggle with their single player stuff. I think it'll be just fine, or hopefully it'll be just fine. I think they'll just continue to do what they do best. But guys, I think this is where I'm going to actually bring the stream to an end, though. It's going to be, we're going to close the book early today, simply because I don't know. This week has been so dry in terms of news or even rumors. I mean, it's like the only real information we got this entire week was from, random stuff about Naughty Dog. And even then, like, we still are pretty much in the dark. That's it. I just want to point this out. Like, a lot of the stuff we've been hearing, does anybody notice how vague it all is? Does anybody notice, like, we're not getting, like, explicit details about anything? It's all just vague, kind of like, yeah, it didn't work, or they're moving on, or, you know, like, the game is dead. It's like, okay, but, like, what the... Come on. Like, we need some details up in here. But, yeah. So, I guess I've been trying my best to fill in the blanks. But, yeah, I think that's going to do it for this stream, guys. We'll have to see what this upcoming week brings, man. We'll have to see what this upcoming week brings. We're going to, we're getting closer to Spider-Man 2. There was that Kojima, apparently he was editing a trailer that said it was first state of play, and I don't know. We'll just see what this upcoming week holds, and we'll see, hopefully if it's more interesting than, yeah, I'll finally give you guys a break. I won't drag this stream out to be 4 hours long. It actually works out for today, though, because I actually do have some stuff to do today. So, this is going to be the longest 12 days ever. We're almost there, man. We're almost there. All right, well, that's going to do it. Before I head out, I do want to do my outro here and give a big thank you to everybody once again. To everybody who gifted memberships or became a member, big shout out to you guys. Again, if it wasn't for that type of support, I just simply wouldn't be able to do what I do here. And it's a privilege. It's an honor to be able to do it. Very humbling. So thank you guys. I also want to give a big thank you and a shout out to everybody who donated a super chat. You guys are always keeping the conversation interesting, always keeping it going in different directions. So really have to give a big shout out to you guys for that. And finally, I want to make sure to give a shout out to Devil Shooter for always doing the timestamps. So yeah, today will be a shorter stream, Devil Shooter. Hopefully it'll be a lot easier for you. And if you see him in the comments, give him a big thank you. He does a great job with the timestamps and really helps out the community here and me as well. So yeah, that does it, guys. We'll see. I can't promise that I'll have a video out tomorrow. It really depends on what we learn between now and sometime tomorrow, if anything happens or updates or comes out. But I do plan to have another stream. My cats are fighting behind me. I do plan to have another stream this Tuesday. I still have been sticking to the schedule. I don't know if you guys have noticed. I'm sure you have. Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. It's been working out really well. So I'll have another stream coming out Tuesday, same time, same place. And I hope to see you guys then. But that does it, guys. Until the next time, take care.